Hey everybody, it's Jeremy from Hard to Master, and today what I wanted to just talk to you about is this game here, Bitoku, by Devir Games. And I don't want to go over all the rules. I know I usually say that a lot of times, but I'm really not going to this time. Devir has a really good video on how to play, and it breaks down even the solo mode and things. So if you're interested in learning how to play, I would check out the video that they've actually commission or posted themselves and find out how to play the game like that. What I really want to talk to you about here is just what I like about this game, because I will tell you, this is one of the 3 games so far. It's the end of September, and this is one of those 3 games that I know is going to be on my top 10 list. I love this game. Right now, it is currently my number 1. Not to say that it will for sure be by the end of the year, but as of this point right now in the year, I've played it a few times, and I just love this game. And as you can see, the artwork here, and I'm probably going to butcher these names, I do apologize. The game is designed by German P. Milan, and the artwork is by Edu Valls. And so I apologize if I pronounce your names very incorrectly. But this is a game that's I was reading the rule book, and on the back of the rule book, I'll read some bits for you. But it's like they took some different pop culture things and they incorporated this kind of made-up background story for the game Bitoku, but included some cultural kind of references to pay respect to it. So they didn't want to butcher it and make people upset by how they portrayed the culture, but they did tweak some things. And so I'm going to read kind of a little bit about it. This game is actually a sequel or a prequel to another game that Devir's done called Silk. And it said that this game is actually, it takes place in thousands of years before Silk, and so it's technically a prequel. But at the bottom of the back, when it talks about cultural references, it says, this universe has been inspired mainly by manga, anime, and all sorts of Japanese pop culture, which also derive from its folklore and traditions. Many of the creatures mentioned in the game come from Asian myths. Many of them, we just made them up. Bitoku does not claim to be a faithful rendition of any of these cultural instances, but we have tried to approach them with the utmost respect. We're trying to put together a fictional universe for all of us to visit and inspire great games. And this game is, to me, a great game. I love when I play this game, not only for the mechanics, but the artwork. I love art in a game. I love components in a game. If you've been following us at all, you know I like to upgrade games. And so the aesthetics and how I see a game on the table means a lot to me. It gets me into that environment. And the artwork for this game does an amazing job of getting you into the mood to play this game. Because you're basically going to have your character meeples, and they're your score tracker. But the main thing that you're going to be using in this game are the dice. And you're going to have 3 dice of your color. And you're not going to roll these die. You're going to actually set them 3, 2, and 1. And then one cool thing about it is I can always increase the value of the die by getting these amulets, which are like pip increasers. It could be 1, 2, or 3. And you can gain these different ways. You can gain them from different actions on the board. You can gain them from different bonuses that may be on crystal tiles or different things like that. Possibly even gain them from the cards that you're playing on your turn. You could gain them many different ways. You can even get them when you're trying to decide who's first player. You can go take an action, and by getting that first player option, you're also going to get maybe an amulet to help increase the value. And you may be thinking, why do I want to increase the value of these die? Well, it's very important to increase the value of the die. And I'm going to put some pictures on the screen as we go, and I reference some things. But when I'm placing my die out on the board, and we find the right spot, and again, I'll put some pictures so you can see it up close, but when I'm placing on the board at these different places here, there's a value, and the higher the value, like you would assume, would give you more resources. And so I'm going to fold this just because, like I said, I'm going to try to get this on the screen for you with some images. But if I play in a higher value, I'm going to get better actions or resources. Now, I could always do a lower action if I just wanted to move my kodama or different things like that. But usually you're going to take the better valued action or item. In addition to that, you may have different buildings that have been placed there, and because you've placed a die of that value or higher, you can actually utilize those too, gaining more resources. Now, you will give points to the other players, and I do like that in the game, that you have to make the choice. Do I want to take that action and give them either, a lot of times they'll get amulets, which will help them increase their die, or they're going to get victory points instantly. And so it's an important decision for you. Which am I going to do? Do I want to utilize that building, or do I not really need that and I don't want to give them that 1 or 2 points? Now, I will tell you, this game can get a lot of points, so not necessarily that 1 or 2 points is going to matter. I'm almost always going to take the action of any building that I can, even if it does give them a bonus. But you can, like I said, that 1 or 2 points isn't going to be a big deal. It's just how many times you do that over the game, different how close are they to your points. Then you may balance if you're going to do that. So I really like how the dice are used because, like I said, it's going to be a set value. It's going to increase, but because on my turn I can either play a card and I'll have a starting deck of cards, which will give me an action. I'm going to place it on my board. The dice are sitting on my player board. They're probably going to be in the locked space, but as I play a card here on my action with my first action, which you would have to do on your first turn, you're going to activate this. Now this die can be played on the board instead of doing a card first. So there's 3 actions. You could play a card. If you have a dice that is activated, you could play that dice to the board. And then the third action, which you would not be able to do for sure on first turn or two, would be to move your dice across the river, which would give you access to other bonuses, actions really, but gaining cards, which could be more to increase your deck building, or they could be these Bitoku cards, which will be at the bottom of your board here, and you can move your character along the path, gaining benefits. So there's a lot that I really like about this game. The artwork is huge for me. I think the game is beautiful. One of my favorite illustrated boards and everything. I do really enjoy games that are geared or developed around Asian culture. And so even though this was a lot of fictional stuff, like the Baba Yaga and stuff, there are still a lot of things that maybe mythology or I guess that anime, pop culture, manga, different things that they included that gave it this beautiful feel, and it's just fun. So I really like the artwork. I really like the dice placement in this game. It's a little bit different than others, and I do like it. When you cross the river, one thing that's pretty interesting about that is you're going to actually decrease the value of that. So you always have to think, do I want to move across the river, decrease that value? Because when it comes back to my board at the end of the round, it's going to be that decreased value that goes there. And hopefully I have some amulets so that I can boost that value back up. But if it's a 6, it's actually going to cut it in half. So it's going to knock it down to a 3. So a lot of times you want to get that 6 to get the benefits of the space in the forest that you're taking the action. But then when you move it across, you're actually going to be cutting it in half, which basically resets it to that highest value that you had at the beginning of the game. And that can be a tough decision at times, but you're almost always, if there's something you want that's across the river, you're going to move across the river if you can to take that benefit and just knock the die down. If there's not a Bitoku card you want over there, or maybe you don't want to do something on the other side, I can understand keeping that value 6, but most of the time you're going to move it across the river and see, and gain that benefit knocking it down. I also like the in-game cards. These cards are actually, you're going to have some, and you can gain more as you go, going to different spots and getting different actions. But as you'll see here, you have 3 requirements, and if you complete those requirements, you're going to get the purple fish, that means in-game points. If you do not complete it, you're going to get the blue fish, which is usually -1, -2. Again, I'll take some pictures and try to post them on the video so you can see a little bit closer. But like this one here, I need resources. I just need a leftover resource at the end of the game. This one I need to have collected 1 crystal of any type. And the last one is I need to have a dragonfly and a spirit connected. And when I do that, it would just, if I have all 3 of them, it's going to give me 4 points like this card says. Now this one, you can see, also needs a resource. I can't double up, so I would need a second resource if I'm trying to score this card. I would need 1 spirit that doesn't have to be connected, and then I need to have moved along the path of wisdom to a gate. If I have a pilgrim that has visited a gate on the top track, and I'll again post an image of that so you can see, then I would gain another 4 points, but I can't double dip. I have to have, like I said, 2 resources. Anything that matches, I would need a second one of that to complete it. So you can gain these cards. It's important to gain, 2, 3, maybe 4. 4 is pushing it because you might not be able to complete all the things on that card to get points. Another cool thing is there will be pilgrims that you'll have locked up here. As you remove these pilgrims, you can get them in this active pool, which you could move down the path of wisdom. You also will reveal points, which you'll get at the end of the game. Down here, you can place these pilgrims, and you'll have these rocks that you can actually gain multipliers for in-game scoring. Now, the first one's free, but as you go, you're going to have a requirement of paying a resource to actually do that. There's also some buildings down here which you can build, and as you do, that increase is going to go up. So like I said, I really enjoy the artwork in this game. One of my, like I said, probably the most beautiful game I've played all year. I like the amulets. I like the dice. I like the different Bitoku cards. You're going to have them in a set collection. You don't have to cross along the path on all of them to score at the end for the set collection, but it is nice because you're getting those bonuses and usually points as you walk along that path of the Bitoku on the bottom of your board. You can also get points from the different cards that are in your deck, and you'll see they have some really cool artwork on them as well, and they can give you some pretty hefty points because if you have a certain number of cards at the end of the round, you can actually remove cards from your hand, discarding them from the game, and when you do that, you actually can gain a lot of points because you're going to get the benefit that's on the bottom, and the majority of them give you points, and some multiply based on what you've done in the game. Some just give you a set amount of points. And so there's so much good about this game. I love the synergies that happen in this game. You can have some major turns if you're going to the right spot with the right dice and there's the right buildings there, and maybe there's an amulet that helps you chain this, or a pilgrim. Maybe you do different things like that. So good. And along the way, you even got to move a Kodama moving up the tracks to try and have the highest influence in each track, so you can gain those in-game points. There is so much that I like about this game. The 2-player side is one side, the 3 and 4-player side is another. Solos on the 2-player side as well. I have not played this solo, so I can't really attest to that yet, but there is a solo mode with a separate set of cards, and eventually I'll probably try it solo. I just haven't had a chance yet. The one thing I'll say, I do like how the board is like this, and there's these dual recessed spots that you can place different pieces in there. Depending on player count, it's going to adjust. And I like how the board is made that dual recess, but the one thing I will say is when you fold it up, I almost always hear a creak like it's coming apart because it's a big board. It's folded multiple different ways, and that dual recessness to it, I can hear or I can feel that it's wanting to split in certain areas because of the way it folds out. So if I had a critique, that would be one of the biggest critiques for me, is just the way that the board folds out. Everything else that another one I would say is, in a two-player game, you are going to have really high scores. I've said this before on our channel. I do like when scores are about 75 to 100, 120. I feel like that's a reasonable score. But once you start, if you play two-player, you're more open. It's not as tight of a game. You have a little bit more freedom to do what you want. And so you're getting more and more points and having these huge actions. And so you can score, 165, 170 points fairly easy in a two-player game. Whereas in a four-player game, you're probably going to be in that 70 to 100, 115 range usually, because you have more people at the table blocking different things that you want or taking cards that you're wanting. And so it makes it a little bit more difficult to do everything you want to do. And that's what's great in this game, is a lot of times you want to do everything and you're just shy of being able to do it by a stone or a wood or a socket or a jade. And so those different resources can get tight at times, or maybe you need a pilgrim to really maximize, or different things like that. It's really cool. I really like the unlocking of the dice. You can get different things that let you unlock it, so you don't have to play a card first all the time. You could skip the card phase, and then you could go into the dice placement phase, because that dice is already activated. So long story short, I'm not going into full rules, not going into a full overview, just talking about a lot of the different things I like about this game. And I said this is probably going to be, there's a good chance for this to be number one of the year for me. I know a lot of people think it's 2 point salad-y. It does have a point salad element, but I feel like there's just so many other great things to it that make that not, it doesn't feel like just a point salad game. It feels like a very strong dice placement, small deck building game where you're deck management, because you're wanting to get rid of those cards to up points. And there's just so many great things about Bitoku. So if you have not played Bitoku, I would say definitely check it out by Devir Games. They did not sponsor this video. This is a copy that I purchased a long time ago because I was very excited about the artwork, and the mechanics here do not take away from the game. This game really shines. I think I like 3 or 4 players the best, just because it's going to be a tighter game. But I would play this 2-player again because there's still chances for big synergized turns. So a score for Bitoku, me personally, I would give this game probably a 9.5. I love this game. I love the synergies that you can have. I love the different mechanics. The only complaint that I said I have is probably the way that the board folds out and feels like it may come apart over time, just because of the way it's folded and the dual recess, which I prefer. I like dual recess boards, but just the way this folds out feels like it could come apart. It is going to be your full 2-hour game or so. It can be played in 2 hours. It can be played in an hour and a half. It could be a little bit longer if you're having people that are having a little bit of trouble, or if it's your first game. But as you get going and you know how to play, it is going to be much quicker. Your moves, you're already going to have an idea of what you kind of want to do. And so you're going to get through the game quite a bit quicker after your first few plays. So 9.5 for me on Bitoku. Very excited to film this quick review and thoughts video for you. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll try to throw up a bunch of images so that you can see as I'm talking about some different things and have an idea of what that might look like. Please feel free to like and subscribe if you like the content that we put out. Follow us and see what else may be coming up soon. We got a lot of big reviews coming up, trying to pump out more and more so that you can get a good idea before the end of the year and before we drop our top 10 favorite games of 2022. So until next time, also I'm on Instagram, Mo Minis, Mo Problems. I got plenty of pictures of Bitoku and other things. Until next time, I'm Jeremy. We'll see ya.